You're listening to Rio Radio, the nationally trusted name in real estate investing. We dig deep to discover investors' why in real estate. If you want to skip all the BS and get in investors' heads, you're in the right spot. Be one of the thousands to check out RioRadio.com.
We scaled up pretty significantly. I had a whole bunch of overhead and I had to continue to do the business to feed the machine. I was stuck in this like rat race, for lack of a word, of like, I have to keep flipping in order to keep the lights on. And I felt trapped and like a prisoner in my business. So it actually took my buddy Thatch Nguyen. I went and hung out with him and he was just like, Tarl, most people build their businesses first and then whatever life they have left over, they like fill it in. Why don't you flip flop that around and figure out how you want your life to actually be and then make your business fit that life?
Welcome to Rio Radio, episode 216 with Tarl Yarber.
How's it going? Do people like listen because you do that voice, or have you ever like looked at your records on your data to see if you get more listeners when you don't do that voice?
I don't think I've ever not done it. So Ted will do like these. He gets really into it. And he looks like he's an opera singer, like Pavarotti or whatever, and he'll be like carrying on, and I'm like, wrap it up, and he thinks I'm saying go longer, yeah. and so he just does it like ridiculously long, like Michael Buffer. But I think he just wanted to be a ringside.
I just waiting for that opportunity.
This is your moment. Yeah.
Well, in the words of the immortal Tatty investor Megan Ahern, she suggested that we kick off the podcast with this question: what are you really fucking good at?
Oh no, that's our question. It's also what are you fucking amazing at? But Brandon Turner and I run a Maui mastermind. It used to be invite only for a long time, and that was the first question that we usually have everybody go around and answer. Besides, like, where are they from? What do they invest in? So that's where she's been to probably 5 or 6 of those. So she definitely stole that from us. That's great. I am effing great at, honestly, if I think about it, if you play it to business wise, it's strategic networking and really honing in on like, who do I need to know and what friends do I need to have and so forth to be able to like, meet the people. Basically, I have a hit list of people I've always wanted to meet, and I 100% meet everybody I want to meet. So just that kind of situation. I think that's helped me a ton in business. To be able to connect the dots. And I think in real estate specifically, it's really who your environment is and who you surround yourself with. And you absolutely need people to do real estate. And it's a lot easier if you have the right people in real estate. So I say that my superpower for sure is strategic networking.
Is your hit list like up on the wall? Like everybody?
No. It's written in lipstick. No, it's written in lipstick. And, I cross it off. No, that's a Billy Madison.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, Steve Buscemi did that. Yeah.
No, but the funny thing is like I don't really want to meet that many people, so it's not that big of a list. But I don't know. I can talk about this stuff all day if you guys want to.
Yeah, okay, Tarl. So I like to think of myself as a decent networker too, but I know I'm not fantastic at it. You've always struck me as somebody who seems like you are who you are, regardless of whatever medium you're on stage, you're in person. We've talked to people that know you personally, and they all say like he is who he seems to be. Do you think that served you well when it comes to networking? And how do you approach meeting a new person without seeming like you're sycophantic or whatever?
I've only done that with one person. I'll tell that story too. I'll tell you who that one person is in a minute, but I've only fanboyed out with one person. I've met this dude probably 6-7 times, hung out with him multiple times. I still think he thinks I'm weird because I am a very big fanboy. I've only done that with one person. My team gives me crap for it all the time, but I'll come back to that. But
I guess who that person is.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you who that is in a second. But no, reality, I think, yes, absolutely. Just, I guess what has really helped me with strategic networking is that I don't actually have an outcome other than I want to be friends. Like, I don't want anything from these people. Like, so it's other than like, I'm just very interested in who they are, what they do, and so forth. And if the worst thing that comes out of it is that we just have a great conversation and like, they don't think I'm a psychopath, then great. But I'm not trying to get anything from them. And the thing is, like, especially at high level A-class people, like, or whatever you call them, they get hit up and asked for so many things all the time. And you could smell it a million miles away when somebody's just trying to build a relationship with you because they want something from you. And I genuinely don't want anything from them other than like, let's hang out and be cool. Whether that leads to something or not later in the future, that's like a bonus. Now it's different when you like try to find like a specific lender or private money lenders or like that's different. You want that. But like that Brandon Turner was on my hit list at one point, for instance, and stuff. And now he's the godfather of my son. And so like he's a great friend, one of my closest friends. But that was like the intention was just like to meet him. Like it wasn't to try. I've never got anything out of him other if anything, he's gotten more out of me than the other way around. But I don't know if that makes sense. It's like there's no outcome other than I just want to like get to know who this cool person is.
Yeah. Now, does Brandon make you call him the Godfather?
For my son, yes. Yeah. So yeah, he anyways.
Now, we're going to obviously spend a little bit of time talking about your huge event that you put on every year, Limitless Expo. It's July 31st through August 2nd this year.
Yep, July 31st through August 2nd, Dallas, Texas, and the Gaylord Texan. That's a event Ken McElroy and I have been putting on for the last 4 years, and it's grown exponentially. And in my opinion, it's the best event out there. And the only reason why that is because Ken and I decided to create an event that we want to be attendees to. So there's a lot of events out there that we don't want to be attendees to. We will be speakers at, but we won't be an attendee. This event we'd buy tickets to. Both of us would. So that's what we created it as. So,
Hey, Tarl, one thing I definitely am excited about is letting everybody know that you are giving a special discount for your Limitless event. Can we just take a quick pause? We give everybody what that code is.
Yeah, so since you guys are listening to this, you type in RIA Radio, all one word, and we'll give you 15% off the Limitless Expo ticket. We do have price increases pretty regularly, though, so you definitely need to get your ticket before the price goes up. But you go to go.limitlessexpo.com for full details. That's RIA Radio, all one word. Ted and Owen had a fight to get you guys 15%. I was only going to give 10%, but now you guys get 15%, so congratulations to that.
Awesome. Thanks, man. I had a really big impact moment. I was listening, when I was doing my deep research on you. I was listening to you talk about that every person that speaks at your event, you do not
We don't pay.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, I think that's amazing. Like we have a World One Day event, we're paying people, and I'm like, but I loved everything you said about it. It's like, I want them to be, you want to be there, and they want to give to the people and give back. I mean, man, it hit home for me.
Yeah, it goes like even with your radio show and what you're doing here, like who's your listener? Why do anything that you want to listen to? So why go to an event that I wouldn't go to? Like why create an event that I wouldn't go to? I don't create events for newbies because I don't want to go to a newbie event. So I create events for people that are already in the business. And because that's the event I want to go to. And if I'm going to go to it, then I don't want to be sold from the stage. So I'm not going to allow selling from the stage, right? So it's all these things that we caveat it to be like, I'm the avatar. Ken's the avatar. Like if I won't go to it, then why am I doing it? I think that's been the secret sauce to all my event stuff. Has just been like, I'm the attendee. So if I'll go to it, then other people like me will go to it.
Do you tell everyone that's going to attend and speak that they're the keynote speaker?
No, absolutely not.
Oh,
no.
Okay.
Like just give you an example. Like we have at Limitless this year, we have multiple people that have had billion-dollar exits out of their companies, and they typically would be a keynote, but I'm putting them on panels. And we're not paying them anything. Kiyosaki goes to every single Limitless and we don't pay him a penny. And we don't even pay for his hotel room. So it's just like, he wants to be there. Like I'm doing a webinar with him next week with me and Ken. And he tells everybody that Limitless is the best event he's ever gone to. And he loves it and he'll go every year. And I take a lot of pride in that, especially after 2022, when we did our first Limitless and Kiyosaki told Ken and I that. I'm like, dude, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad when I was 17, and he's been on my list for a long time of people I wanted to meet.
He's on my list.
Yeah. Right. And so and now I'm like on the stage with him and he goes to my stage all the time. We talk, right? Like, it's like, but on a side note, I'm happy I became friends with Ken, like besides Robert Kiyosaki, I definitely get along with Ken McElroy way better.
Ken and Kiyosaki are like best friends, right?
They're best. Yeah. They're BFFs for sure. I definitely gel way more with Ken than I do with Kiyosaki for a lot of reasons. But still, even that example, there's like Kiyosaki would pay for a ticket, kind of a thing. It's just he's Kiyosaki, so he doesn't have to. So
yeah, he negotiates a seller financing ticket or something like that.
Yeah. I've always just putting his face on stage sells tickets, so that's good enough. So, but I can go on so many rants about this. I don't know what you guys really want to talk about.
Yeah, no,
I could go all over the place on events.
This is like going to the bar, having a drink, and then shooting a shit.
But okay, so how did you get to a point where you were like, hey, I think I want to do this big event and put this together with some of my, contacts and people I've networked with and some bigger names? How did you get the confidence and how did you get into a position where that was even something that entered your thought?
Yeah, that's a good question. Just like with real estate, I think everything goes back to your belief. And if you don't have a belief, then you're not going to do it. Like, I don't really think it's true where it's just like, you got to shoot for the moon and maybe you'll hit an eagle or whatever the heck that phrase is, or I don't know. But
We say a NASCAR race.
yeah, like so. But if you don't actually think you're going to hit a goal, like you're not going to. So I believe in like micro wins and like micro goals and building up to it. So like small wins lead to big wins. And so you have to have a real big belief. So for me on just like in real estate, right? When, flipping one house is one thing, flipping 600 houses is another. Like if I started out my career thinking I'm just going to go buy 600 houses, I would have never done it. Right. And I would have thought two's good enough. But all of a sudden, if you make like when I was broke, making 50 grand a year was like, I don't know what I was going to do with the other 30 grand a year, but like making 50 grand a year would have been like making 500 grand today or whatever. Right. So it was insane. But if the thought of making 500 grand entered my mind, I wouldn't even believe it. So my goal was 50. And as soon as I hit 50, I was like, okay, I could probably do 100. And as soon as I hit 100, I was like, okay, I could probably do 300. Right. As soon as I hit 300, I was like, a million's easy because I could connect the dots. And so that's the same thing with the big event, like Limitless Expo. I've been doing events since December 2016 when we did our first meetup. So I originally, Seattle, Washington didn't have any real estate conferences. And I was just like, why doesn't anybody do anything like that here? It'd be kind of interesting to do something like that one day. It'd be kind of fun. And I went to an event called the Muster, and it was put on by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin, who wrote the book Extreme Ownership.
Cool.
And I went to Muster 001, so it was their first one. And I got on the microphone and I asked Jocko and Leif, I was like, hey, like if you have all these huge opportunities and big whatever, how do you know which one to jump headfirst into? And Jocko said, well, don't. He's like, why don't you do some reconnaissance first? Like, if I'm going to go bust through a door, why don't I like crack the door open and see if I can get any recon before I go kicking the door down? So basically, what's the minimum viable product you could put out before you fully commit? And when he said that, I was like, oh, I could do a meetup. Let me see if I can get anybody to show up to a meetup. So I did a meetup December 2016, and we had 110 people show up. I'm like, oh, well, people really like that. Let's do another one in January. And we had 220 people show up in January. And then by February, we had 230 people or something show up to that one. And I was like, I think we could do an expo, right? That'd be fun. And so because it totally made sense, I scheduled it in July, a few months later, and had the worst few months of my life trying to put that on. But I did, right? And so, and it was, I got a lot of stories on that. But that would have not happened if I started with, I'm going to do an expo. I started with that'd be cool. Let me do a test run first to see if I have the lowest risk to test it out to get the best outcome I can to build that belief. And as soon as I had 2-3 meetups, I'm like, I have the belief I can go do this now. Then that first expo we did had something like 570 people show up to it. We made 10 grand, which is awesome because usually people lose money on their first event. And then in 2018, we had 651 people show up to that. And we made 120 grand, which I'm like, that's awesome because it actually made sense. And trust me, I lost money doing those because it took me away from doing my real estate business. I just want to be clear.
There's an opportunity cost there, right? Yeah.
Massive opportunity cost that I didn't really realize until later in life, how much it took me away. You don't make money on events unless you sell from the stage. And that's just what it is. And so, but we don't sell from the stage. So we make okay money from events. And then 2019, we had almost 1,100 people at that. That's how I met Cam McElroy. And then 2020, basically Seattle shut all that shit down because of COVID and whatnot, blah, blah, blah. And then at a bar in Laguna in 2022 in January, I'm with Ken. Ken had become a good friend of mine by then. And we're just hanging out at this bar in Laguna at a private equity conference. And it was kind of shady because everybody's in suits and ties and him and I are not that, right? And everybody's just measuring each other and whatever. And there's one point him and I are at it. I lean over to him. I'm like, how many of these people do you think are actually happy in their life? And he leans over to me. It's just you and me, brother. I'm like, right? That's what it is. Anyways, because we didn't care. Anyways, Ken's who he is, by the way. If you watch his YouTube channel, everything Ken he's just Ken, right? It's awesome. Love that guy. So anyways, but at that bar, we're talking about the world and we're talking about the economy and we're talking about what's going on because there's a lot of unknowns in 2022, January 2022. And when he's just do you think maybe what if we put maybe we get a whole bunch of really smart people together, basically? Do you think you can help me put something like that together? Because I was complaining to him about my events company and how I didn't know what to do with it anymore because of COVID. And he's like, well, maybe I have this idea, people need financial freedom and financial education, not just real estate. Real estate events come and go all the time with the market, but everybody needs financial education. and nobody's really doing that, right? He's like, do you think maybe we can get some cool people and get a couple hundred people on that? And I'm like, hell yes, right? And that the next day we get on the phone. I'm like, hey, do you really want to do this? He's like, let's effing do this. And I'm like, F yes, right? And so that led to our first Limitless Expo in June 2022. And we had, I think, 1,100 people show up to that within 4 months of launching it. And now we're on year 4, and it's just the best thing I do because I get to meet all these cool people. So I went on a long rant, but that's how it led to it, was like a micro meetup just to see if I had a minimum viable product for something to test it out with the least amount of risk, led to years later to where I'm on stage with last year, RFK Jr., Robert Kiyosaki, all 4 of us on stage together. I'm like, oh, that just started from a meetup. That's kind of cool, right?
I had a question in here before, obviously before we started talking about this particular topic, but what is more stressful, planning Limitless or managing 17 rehab projects at one time?
Well, it depends on how you see it. Like, I would say managing Limitless is not stressful when we started it, because by then I'd been doing it long enough and we had the right team. What's stressful about events is ticket sales. You can have the most amazing event in the world. If nobody shows up to it, it doesn't mean anything. So ticket sales are the stressful part of events. Not
you kind of value your worth based on those ticket sales. You like,
well, not just value your worth, you also value whether or not you're going to lose your ass on the event or not too. Like, spoiler alert, Limitless costs us $1.4 million to run. I mean, I've never said that on a recorded line, but that's what it costs, right? So and I can say this with full ego, hardcore ego, it would cost other people $2 million plus to run. So for what we do, like complete lead. I know that for a fact that it would cost most people more than $2 million to do the event. And I don't want to like geek out on that too much. But so because of that, yeah, you don't sell tickets. You're writing a fat check because these are contracts, dude.
Okay. This is getting in the weeds a little bit, but
yeah, totally.
Do you have with your event planning, do you do this for other people too? Like, so Ted and I wanted to put on an event. Could we call Tarl and say, hey man, we want to put together like a multifamily or house flipping or whatever. We want to, do like a 300 person event. Is that something you do, or are you more elephant hunting?
I would say that is a completely depends on who you are, right? It's fixated events. We don't promote the company. We do stuff for some friends, but we are open to conversations. But it's really what it boils down to is like, you can get my company, it's whether or not you get me, like, is really the thing. And so my company could run an event for somebody all day, but they're amazing at the logistics of it. Right? Kind of where we don't have a scalability internally, full disclosure, is they will make everything perfect for your event so that you can just show up. It's just, or did anybody show up to your event is the question. And so that's where I kind of come in, where I add the value to the team, is the structure for that. But to that point though, like, yeah, we do events for some good friends and some other people and stuff like that behind the scenes, like we're the backdrop of it. But what our big question for it is not so much like, yeah, you want to pay us to do an event, great. That's not really what we're here for. We want you to have a successful event. Can you get people to show up to it? And if you can't, then we can help figure that out. But I'll be full disclosure too. If somebody's coming to us, right, and this is just maybe an ego thing, I don't know, and like, we have to create your entire event for you, design it, which we do, right, and also help you sell all your tickets, then we go like, what do we need you for? So like, we do it ourselves. But I'm also not going to, because we do the REI summit with Brandon, and I do that one together. And then Ken and I do Limitless Expo together. That's 2 massive, REI summit will have 1,000 people at it. Limitless will have almost 2,000 people at it. So those are 2 big events. I run a real estate business still. I also have a hard money lending company, and I also have a pretty legit lifestyle that I definitely like to uphold, as far as like with playing and be with my family and jujitsu and snowboarding and all that fun stuff. So I have a bandwidth of wanting to do those. But yes, the answer is yes, we would. It just depends. A lot of depends.
Well, I know that we're going through that right now. We got the local meetups. These guys meet up. I got my meetup. It's gotten to a point where we're like, oh, let's start doing, like a quarterly larger event that is very, very topic specific. So like this one's gonna be like midterm multis that we're doing in August. And we're using local speakers to get this one off the run. And it'll be 200 person max for the venue, because we just want to create our systems. But the goal is within 2 years, we'll rent out our local convention center.
Dude, that's huge, yeah.
And do a 2-day event, but I want to create the systems now in confidence.
Yeah, that's kind of, I could tell you this, like, we're doing an event we're not going to say it right now out loud, but like, we're doing one in October where they did a couple events for themselves and they just kept losing money and failing on it. Like, even hiring us, they're going to make a bunch of money this year from that event because they're outsourcing it to us. because then they're able to go work on what they do best, right? I learned this the hard way in ourselves, is that like, you guys don't run an event company, you run real estate or in the pocket, like everything else that you guys do. That was the same thing with me, right? Where it was a passion project for the event stuff, but it also took me away from what also paid the bills, which was real estate, right? And it also took my team away as well too. So these are like hard lessons to learn that I'm like, cool, we have this like 2018 PNW Big Badass Real Estate Wealth Expo and we got to sell it. But then the only people that on my team that I had were people that were like in my real estate company, right? So I then have to pull them off the line to stop managing projects, sourcing deals, doing all the great stuff to go work on like an event, right? That, one flip in Seattle area, we were averaging 60K a property, right? And so we made 120 in the 2018 Expo, then that's 2 flips, right? At the end of the day. But it took, trust me when I say it took us, we probably lost more than 120K in real estate opportunities because I took my key people off the front line for, roughly 60 days, let's just say, leading up to the event combined. So there's an opportunity cost there. Now, today I have a completely separate company. We have 9 employees, all the great stuff, like everything for the events company. There's no cross contamination anymore, but that only happened because 2022, we decided to like make it a real business, but there's no margins in the events company, to be honest with you. So like, it's, I can't pay my bill. I have a unique lifestyle. I can't pay my personal bills running an event business.
I have a unique lifestyle. Hey, that brings up a good point. I wanted to ask you the question. I caught on a podcast you did, and I can't recall whose it was, but you talked a little bit about you and your wife had sat down and talked about how crazy your activity was in real estate, and you were doing like tons and tons of flips. You had like probably averaging 17 rehabs at a time.
Yeah.
And you made a conscious decision to kind of like dial that back.
Correct.
And be okay with not doing full bore up to your full capacity on that just because it wasn't fitting your lifestyle goals.
Yeah, correct.
How do you think about, FOMO and burnout are kind of kissing cousins because it's hard to participate in all the stuff you want to do and not get burned out. So like, how do you look at what is a happy medium for you in regards to life goals and happiness versus like, I can do all this stuff and I'm missing out if I don't, and I'm the guy and I'm not going to be the guy anymore if I'm not doing max capacity? How do you look at that?
Yeah, I would definitely, it's about prioritizing what's important in your life more than anything. So I think I had a couple of aspects in my life happen October 2017, my wife and I sat down and basically butcher papered out over the course of a few weekends how we really wanted our life to be. And we never did that before. And I never really like took a step back and tried to realize, why am I even doing real estate? Because I never liked it. I still don't like it. I love my balance sheet. The only projects I have right now that I hate are my flips. Like I still don't like flipping. Flipping sucks, but it's good money when it works out. All my burrs, like we have a handful of projects in construction right now that are burrs, and I love every one of them. Even if they're over budget, I'm like, I still like this deal, right? Because it's going into my balance sheet instead of my profit and loss. The ones that are flips, even if they're making money, I'm just like, when is it going to like enter and become a check? Like, because I'm totally don't care about this house. Anyways, but besides the point, so that was pretty much my life in 2017 was I was just making money, but I wasn't enjoying my life at all. And I kind of was having a quarter life crisis and whatnot. I was just like, what the hell do I do? We scaled up pretty significantly. I had a whole bunch of overhead and I had to continue to do the business to feed the machine. I was stuck in this like rat race, for lack of a word, of like, I have to keep flipping in order to keep the lights on. And I felt trapped and like a prisoner in my business. So it actually took my buddy Thatch Nguyen. I went and hung out with him and he was just like, Tarl, most people build their businesses first and then whatever life they have left over, they like fill it in. Why don't you flip flop that around and figure out how you want your life to actually be and then make your business fit that life? If he would have said that a year earlier, I'd be like, dumb, but at that time I had enough burnout and whatnot that I'm like, lightning bolt, right person, right place, right timing, right situation in my life. Specifically right person for sure, because I respect the hell out of Thatch to tell me that. And it just like straight up like was said, I'm like, I didn't know you can do that. And like immediately blow up my wife. I'm like, hey, we're going to sit down this weekend and we're going to figure this out. And we did. And so at the end of those few weekends, we sat back and I realized in order to live the life we really want, we have to make less money in real estate and do less than what we're doing right now so that we can like travel, be together. We have to change our overhead structure. We have to scale down. And I think one of the problems with scaling up is people continuously build a prison in their business because they forgot to put any doors, any egress, any like exit strategies, any ways to like back out of it if they wanted to, which is not a problem if you're trying to build $1 billion business or whatever. But to get to a point to where your overhead forces you to have to make bad decisions in that scaling is just not comfortable, especially if markets change, especially in flipping. When you're in a flip type business, you are in a transactional based business. You are living on transactions and that's it. So you don't have any wealth. If the market changes, that transactional based business changes too, right? And if you're spending everything you make, it sucks. So yeah, that was a massive change in our lives. And within a very short period of time, we completely changed all of it. And I would say that like, that's part of it, is mapping out what do you actually want. And I think we look at social media, we look at what other people do, we get envious or, jealous or whatever, however you want to say it. And we say, I should be doing that too. Look how cool that is. But is that really what you want though? Or do you just want the outcome? Do you want to be able to travel 6 months a year? Well, guess what? You really don't need that much to do that. Right. And so I think ego is the enemy in so many levels. And not accepting just this is your life. You could die any day. I do search and rescue, ski patrol. I did EMTs, volunteers, firefighter for a while too. But my biggest passion was search and rescue and ski patrol. And life is fickle. Like your lights can go out like that, like right now and tomorrow. You get hit by a car or whatever. And we've seen plenty of people pass on the mountains and stuff. And I was like, is this how I want to live my life? Is that at any moment I could just like lose it? And for what? Because like I was flipping some stupid houses and stuff. Like that's not what I want in my life. So let's live today. So anyways, this is my rant of like how I think through everything. Like Brandon and I at the Maui Mastermind, we do this 3-year vivid vision at the end of every Maui Mastermind that him and I do, that gets people to project where they want everything in their life. I've never been able to do one like successfully because I'm all about like, what's my perfect day today? Not 3 years from now. I don't want to wait 3 years. I want it today. And if you're not happy with where you are today, you're not going to be happy with where you are tomorrow, no matter what. It's a mindset, right? And it's a mental aspect. If you're not grateful for what you have today, you're not going to be grateful for it tomorrow either. Anyway, I'm totally ranting, but this is how I answer your question. So
here's the thing. Did you start in 2005?
I started in 2005.
That was the exact same year I started. I started flipping. It took me a long time to get to a point where I was doing the burr. Well, not a long time, but I didn't know what I was doing. But I got really recently, in fact, it was not even probably 6-8 months ago. I just got to a point where I completely resented my flipping business.
Yeah.
We were doing between 30 and 50 a year. And I have a business partner. We had no staff. And it was just like, you know exactly what I'm talking about here. And I just hated flipping. And we pretty much aren't doing that now. We went into a hard money business and we've really been growing that. And that's been a lot more fun and new and different. But do you think based on all of the people now that you are, in rooms with, like the Kiyosakis and Ken McElroy's and Brandon and all these, multi-millionaires, do you think anyone is truly happy in the business they're in, or is it a means to an end?
Oh, Ken's happy.
He loved it.
Ken's the exception for sure. Ken loves everything he does. There's moments, of course, where he doesn't. The people have bad days or whatever, and they're like, "This is silly." But no, yeah, Ken's totally in it in his life. Like he's good to go. But yeah, I do think you can. Like, yeah, I love my events company and I love my lending company and I love there's other things I love. I think it's fun. Real estate is a vehicle to me. That's what I think that happens with flips. Is like real estate's not meant to be like, you think about it, like true real estate investors, quote, right? This offends some people, are people that keep properties because they're investing in it, right? Mm-hmm. And so I do think flipping's an investment, like 100%. But the reality is like you're just doing transactions, right? Like, so that's what it boils down to. And it's a business that could get easily, I don't know, like easy construed to where like that becomes your entire way of paying your bills because it becomes like your income versus if you're keeping the properties, it's a totally different way of looking at it. You're like, no, this is like a future investment, right? Mm-hmm. And so I don't need to identify myself as that because this is just a way I'm like increasing my retirement or increasing my balance sheet or my, whatever, my net income or
net worth.
There you go. Net something, right?
Yeah. Net.
And it's not who I am. It like allows me to be more of who I really am. So I think money makes good people better, bad people worse. It accentuates who you are, right? So real estate allows you to like go do all the cool stuff, right? If you do it right. It can also like make you lose everything too. So including your sanity.
I've always thought of like the difference between owning, rental portfolio and flipping if you're only doing one or the other. It's kind of the difference. It's like day trading versus investing in a 401k because, long term, you're not paying capital gains taxes on your stuff in your 401k. Whereas if you're day trading, it's just all regular income, just like flipping. So it's kind of like that. And it's a lot more stressful instead of just, you're operating a real estate portfolio, having somebody manage it. It's a lot different, but
Totally. But I also think that flipping is amazing to learn to make you a way better real estate investor, because you learn every component. Like you learn how construction, like operations is the biggest portion of house flipping. And that's where most people ignore. They pay attention to the acquisition side more than anything, which is fine. But what messes most house flippers up is everything between buying and selling. And it's that operations. And if you get really good at the operations side, then it actually makes you a way better buy and hold investor in the future, in my opinion. So I think it's a great tool to learn and a great strategy everybody should learn because of the construction and operations. It'll make your rentals worth more, right? For you.
Yeah.
You'll get more value out of it. So I think, and it's actually like house flippers are easier for them to go to rentals versus landlords. It's harder for them to go to flip. So it's like, problem is most house flippers never go to rentals because they get addicted to the cash of the flip, right? Which was me for a very long time. And you have to like forgo that and realize that the money's not gone. It's just trapped in equity, like a savings account, like you said, a 401k of some capacity. So it's just a different mindset shift. So
see, me buying all those condemned properties, I've learned so many lessons.
Yeah, you definitely went. You did the boot camp, man. Ted and I were talking. I think about this from time to time, and especially with social media being so prevalent now, and there's all the people out there telling you how to flip houses and buy rentals and all that stuff.
It's very noisy.
And you'll see, especially the comments, like if you take the time to look at people's comments, which is generally a shit show, but there's a lot of angry people in there generally, and they'll be like, must be nice. Like, well, yeah, you got in at right after blah, 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 or you did this. It must be nice. The whole must be nice, diatribe. I was going to ask you this question as kind of a thought experiment. If instead of starting in 2005, you were starting in 2015, and so time, market, all kinds of differences, right? Mm-hmm. How would you approach things differently? Like, do you think you would be in a similar position, irrespective of the 10-year difference? I mean, obviously portfolio size can grow with that, but do you think you would have?
I didn't have a portfolio at all by 2015.
Yeah.
So I didn't start keeping rentals till 2016, but I just want to be clear too. 2005, I did it for a year, hated it, stopped, and then didn't get back in until right around the end of 2010, early 2011. So
didn't you make $100,000 on like your
one
third,
deal?
Your third land flip?
Yeah, and then I stopped immediately after that. I took that check, paid off my credit cards and all the other stuff, and I'm like, real estate sucks, and then I'm like out. So. And then the market crashed a year later. So that was
probably a good pause.
Yeah, it was not because I was like some guru and I saw it. No, I was just like, I hate every minute of this. And I made decent money on my third deal. And I really appreciated that because that got me out of deep hole and whatnot at the time. But then I got into, naturally the progression as a 21-year-old is to get into becoming a financial planner for 40-year-olds. So that's what I did. I did that and for almost 6 years, technically. I started in 2005 while I was doing the real estate, actually. I was getting licensed and stuff for that when I was 20. And I did that until right around 2011, or like early 2011 is when I let my license lapse. And then I got full-time into real estate. So technically I would say my real career didn't start till 2011 if I had early 2011.
Is your current financial planner 21?
I don't hire financial planners. Most financial planners are really just life insurance salespeople pretending to be a financial planner. But that's the point. But to answer your question on the 2015 thing, so there's a friend of mine that he's out there right now. I think he just had a TV show launch and stuff, but he got eaten alive in 2008, 2009 when he was newer as well. And then there's properties he bought that he couldn't get rid of because they were upside down, that he couldn't sell and break even on it until 2015. And so there's, the thought of the 2015 thing, people are like, oh, you got in early. I'm like, yeah, but nobody knew, right? Nobody knew in 2011 that like it was going to go up. Trust me, like none of us did. And so in 2012, none of us, other than some hedge funds, there were some very smart hedge funds out there that started popping up right around 2012 that they're like, we're doing a 7-year hold, or our game plan is to exit at 7 years. And I'm like, man, that seems like I totally was an idiot back then. I didn't know anything. So, and I was like, man, like that seems risky, kind of a thing. It's like, no, these guys are way smarter than me. Right. And I didn't know anything, by the way, back then. I was making stuff up all the time, but nobody did. Right. Like there's a friend of mine, Tucker Merrihew. He was just like, you all think that you want to start, like you wish you started in 2009. Like you're not the type, none of us are the type of person to run into a burning building. Right. And that's pretty much what it was. So there's very few people out there that if they given the chance, that they would have jumped in, right, if they had the opportunity or knew about it, because everybody around you said it sucked. And also there was no way to get any money too. So hard money lending it existed, but you're paying like 4 points and 16% at like 70% LTC or whatever. And for 5 months, right? Like and then it renews for another 2-3 points for 2 months. Right. So it's like all these things. You didn't have no appreciation. You didn't have all this stuff. So that's what was going on. REO was everywhere. And I can talk about this. I was very heavy in the REO, real estate owned industry, like very, very heavy in the real estate owned industry, behind the scenes heavy. And so, but that will never happen again anytime soon. Like, so it's that whole world. So it doesn't really matter. But I do think with real estate is that, real estate is amazing long-term, no matter what, but you don't know how long that term needs to be. If you're like my buddy who had some properties in '08 that didn't break even for him until 2015, that's a 7-year wait. Right. And there's some people that was able to like wait till 2013 and break even. Right. Or whatever. So you don't know. And then there's some people that bought in 2020 and then sold it for $1 million more in 2021. Right. So like, you just don't know. Right. But long term, you're good. So, but if you're stuck on a flip and you have a cycle turn right when you're in the middle of construction, that sucks. And so it's not a good time, but that's the reality of flipping. So I don't know. I went on a rant again.
No, you're good. In 2008, 9, 10, I was also doing REOs, buying a lot of foreclosures, flipping those. And, you hear a lot of people say that like, oh, if I was around back in that time, I would have bought everything and this and that. But the thing I remember most about that time is houses were really difficult to sell. You had to flip everything. Wholetailing I didn't try wholetailing back then, but I don't think it would have worked very well. No. You had to fix everything and it had to be priced right. You really had to know your numbers, and deals were really hard to get financing on.
Very hard. You're going to do concessions on everything for sure. Yep. Right. And you definitely have to take care of everything, and you're going to sit on the market for, continuous days on market were definitely a thing. Like it was normal for us to go like, oh, this is a 90 to 120 day continuous days on market property. Like we'd have to budget in 2, 3, 4 months of like wait time, right, for it to sell. And that was just part of the business. And so it's just like us making $5,000 quickly on a flip was like good. So it's like you know what I mean? So it's
I remember, I think it was 2008 when the first time home buyer tax credit expired.
When I bought my first investment.
I don't know if that applied to your area though, because you were doing that, all your stuff in Seattle at the time, right?
In 2010, 2011. So
your price point might have been not applicable there, because like starter homes in Omaha, Nebraska, you could get for $120,000.
Yeah, but you'd be surprised. Like, so people think Seattle is expensive. It is today. It wasn't then. Like we were buying properties for 60, 70, 80 grand and stuff. And there's a house in West Seattle that I still know the address by heart, that in 2013, 2014, something like that. West Seattle is like a super, super, super like great area of Seattle. And we bought it for 110, 120, and it sold for 330. And I remember when it sold for 330 in whatever year I said, 2014 or something like that. I remember thinking whoever bought it was just like, these guys are crazy for buying this house that much, because we ARV'd it at like 295. I mean, that house is $1,050,000 right now or something like that. So it's I look it up every now and then. So
the one that got away.
But I have a lot of those, by the way. Like we all do.
Oh, I'm sure. My sister lived in Seattle for about 20 years, and I went out there a bunch of times to visit her. She lived in like the Bellevue area.
Yeah, Bellevue, yeah.
And I remember, God, what year was it she moved here? It was probably 7-8 years ago. And they had, again, comparing Omaha to Seattle is kind of apples and oranges, but I remember they had like a split level in Bellevue, really good school district. And it was just nothing special. I think it was a 4-bed, 2-bath, maybe 1,500 square feet.
Yeah, probably built in the 60s or 50s or something.
Yeah, and they had done it up nice. But I remember at that time, they sold that for like $1,050,000, something like that. And I'm like, are you kidding me? You would have taken that house, picked it up, and put it in Omaha. It would have been worth maybe $230 at the time. And she sold that, moved here, paid cash for a lakefront house, and like she's done. Like, you know what I mean? And I'm bringing this up because I know, like just kind of looking at your backstory, you went from California to Seattle to Maui to Austin.
Yep.
The only other really, really high cost of living place it seems like you haven't lived is New York. So
all the high class, yeah. And that's what's great. The house I'm in right now, which we absolutely love. We got property and everything. We're outside of Austin in the hill country, but I I bought it April 2022, the peak of the market, right? So like,
Texas especially, right?
Yeah, especially Austin area, dude. Like, so I don't ever look up how much my house is today. I have no idea. It's probably not worth what I bought it for. So like, take my advice, listen to me. I'm an expert in real estate, but But at the same time, I sold my house in Seattle at the height too. So it's like there's either way. I'm a huge believer. Like the house you live in is the house you live in. So like, you know, it should be, who cares what it's worth as long as you love living in it. So
I like that too.
Yeah.
Hey, get just tactical stuff here. I was going to ask you, since this is a real estate show, I think we
some days
sounds like an events company
Yeah,
show right now.
but on the so this is kind of a question I would bet you've probably been asked a million times, but it's kind of a fun topic. How do you know the right way to disposition a house? Wholesale, wholesale, flip. What kind of mental gymnastics do you go through to figure out what the best way to get a house moved?
Well, those are all tools, right? So, and strategies, that's how I see it. So it's like, and I would add one more on it. It's BRRRR, right? So so the prior, whenever we look at any property, we start at the top, which is like BRRRR. Like, is this a property that we should keep in our portfolio? And we're always underwriting to that first. I really personally today don't like buying a property unless it will be something that I'm going to BRRRR. Because if it's a BRRRR, it means it also is a flip, right? As well. So I have two exit strategies at that point. And so a good BRRRR is not a good BRRRR unless it's a good flip. I also want to put one other caveat out there that a BRRRR is not infinite. It's not an infinite BRRRR. A BRRRR just means that you bought it, fixed it up, and then you rented it, right? At the end of the day, you refinance, get your money. It doesn't mean you got all your money out. That's an infinite BRRRR, right? Those are great, and I love them, and I have a couple of them, but those aren't like normal. So I just want to be clear that everybody's on that. So I don't have to get all my money out to not want to keep the deal. So is it a BRRRR first? Then is it a flip second? And then is it a wholesale? And then is it a wholesale, right? And it really just depends on the deal. Like if it's a deal that like in an area that we're not that interested in for whatever reason, and we acquired it somehow off market and it's in our wheelhouse somehow, but it's not in our like buy box or niche area, then yeah, we're going to try to wholesale it if it makes sense. If it's a deal that's in an area that we want to buy and it's in our buy box and it's something that we can keep, then no, we're not going to wholesale it or wholesale it. We're going to keep it, right? So, and then typically the way the flips work is that like we changed our mind to not be a BRRRR for whatever reason. And that changing of mind could be many reasons. It could be we screwed up, right? Is actually a changing of mind. Like, oh man, we thought it was 100 grand a rehab. We spent 120 or 130, which happens with old houses. Like the markets I'm in right now are still 100-year-old plus houses. So you're like, okay, well, it's not that we have to now leave more money into this deal for it to make sense as a BRRRR. So let's just get rid of it. I hate that. Like, I don't like that, especially if it's a good BRRRR. Or the other side is like, man, this house just sucked working on. I don't ever want to look at it again. So let's not keep it, right? So, which is the gut check of the property. And there's also just times where like, it's just better as a flip because maybe you just have to leave more money into it than you, even if it worked out as a BRRRR, maybe you just don't like the ROI because of opportunity costs to leave money somewhere else. So like, but the point is like me personally, I don't want to buy a deal unless it is a property that I want to keep because that means I have two exit strategies at that point. I can either keep it or sell it. The only time I'll buy a property that's like a buy and hold traditional 20% down rental is a 1031 exchange. And that's it. And so other than that, I'm taking my money to buy as a BRRRR to force appreciation. And through forcing the appreciation, it insulates me from market downturns and changes because I forced the appreciation through construction. And then that way I can keep it. So that way it also makes it to where I can also sell it if I need to as a flip. So it's kind of the mentality is like keep the best, sell the rest kind of situation. And if I keep that mentality up, then every now and then the flips like will help pay for the BRRRRs. And then the BRRRRs build up my portfolio and then I'll get cash outs one day, which could buy more flips that pay for more BRRRRs. And it's just a whole equation of it. But even if the market turns, if those properties are cash flowing that I kept and they have equity because I forced the appreciation, then I also have equity to lose if the market turns, I need to dump it. So my entire philosophy on single families is force the appreciation. And even if you're going to keep it. So anyways, and then my long-term philosophy on it is every single one of those properties is going to become a 1031 exchange until that money is in a property that I would live in one day. And I don't mean like I'm actually going to go move into it. It means like the property's at a level or a neighborhood or quality or whatever that I would live in it if I had to. So that's when I would stop 1031 exchanging. So I got that from a very, very, very smart old timer that I thought was a good idea.
I was just having a conversation this morning with Hal, and there's a property that I have a lead on, and I was like, hey, take this opportunity. He's going to flip it. And he's like, hey, so what would you do with this property? And I was like, hey, I go, honestly, you're in the peak of the sales market here in Omaha, Nebraska. I would just clean that thing out, put it on the market, and see if you can get it sold, make your quick 20, 30 grand and walk away from it. And, if it doesn't sell in a week, you have a second out, which is the flip, which is your original plan. But you have more time, more money, more effort in this, more holding costs. So why not take the quick money? Because holding it's not going to be an option for him and his partner. This is what they do. And I know it's a little bit opposite of what you're looking at.
But it's true. Like, but we have a property right now in Savannah that, like, I don't think we should have bought. I have a partner in some of my deals in Savannah, and love him to death. But he comes from a wholesale acquisitions business, so that's his entire mentality is wholesaling and quick money, right? And so him and I are partners because it's a good relationship for those deals there, where he helps source them, and then my side runs all the operation. But to that point, there was a deal that, like, we were going to buy as a flip, and I'm like, all right, well, I guess the numbers pencil out, but man, I don't want to deal with this house because it's like $180,000 remodel, and it's just like whatever. And he's just like, well, let's just close on it because I think we could wholesale it. I'm like, okay, well, if we try to wholesale it and it doesn't work, that means we're buying it as a flip, right? And because it doesn't work as a burr. So the only way this works is if you wholesale it, because if it doesn't, then we have to flip it, and that just sucks, right? When we have to go that route, especially for the margin on it's good, but 180K rehab is like not a good time on a 110-year-old house, right? It's just like what it is. So it's like a mental space thing. Well, we've owned it now for a month, and guess what? It hasn't sold yet. So I'm like already going, man, we're going to have to like start working on the rehab and start doing this stuff. And like, this is the last thing I wanted to do with this house. So what I'm getting at is that my buy box is not to do that. Yet every time I go outside of my niche, I have a I know what my niche is. And every time I creep out of that thing, it always bites me in the ass somewhere. Like, and that's like so my message is like, just know what you're really good at and stick with it. And if you want to creep out, that's fine. Right. Just know that, like, I don't know, for me, it has never worked. I don't know. Maybe it's because I don't like real estate enough to like learn how to do multifamily or learn how to do all the other stuff. But yeah, we should have never bought this house because now we have to go deal with it. And it only works as a flip if it didn't work as a wholesale.
It's also knowing how long to keep it on the market too, right? Because if it isn't going to sell in that first week, it's
week or 2 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, you need to either get really aggressive with it or you need to get that thing, renovating because time is money.
Yeah. Totally. Failed wholesales. I hate those things.
You had a great one last year, didn't you?
Yeah.
Like a really good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Six plus figure.
Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah, just cleaned it, and made like 110,000 on it. I was like, I'm the best. I'm the smartest guy in the world. And then like the next one, we lost like 40 grand on. But I was
that the one I sold you.
Yes, it is. Thanks, Ted. I think we're talking before we hit record. You have a group called Flippers Anonymous. Is that right?
Yeah, it's a fun group. So Flippers Anonymous, like, it's for addicted house flippers that want to become recovering house flippers. So
yeah. Now we have one of the members of your group, Clint Blackburn, is from our neck of the woods here. I was talking to him yesterday at a coffee meetup, and he said he was telling me a story about a house he bought. That's a hilarious story, not probably radio appropriate, but he found there was a naked guy that showed him the house. It's a great story. Yeah. But he said, he goes, hey, I was going to tell you, and he'll probably be mad I mentioned this, but the house ended up, he was doing a clean out on it, and he found a stack of $5,000.
Multiple stacks now.
Yeah. And so that leads us to, we asked this on a lot of our shows, doing 650 plus flips and all the stuff you're involved in. What's something that stuck out to you as like a crazy or cool item or thing that you found in a house?
I still have some of these things. We had one house that, I can tell you exactly. I already, without even thinking about it, I know what it is. But there's always the gross stuff, right?
Yeah,
those stand out.
But like, those are like, eventually those just because you find numb to that. Like, you're just like, all right, another gross house. Lots of more porn. Okay, cool. But for the
my new bottles full tests.
Yeah, oh yeah, we definitely totally absolutely.
It's always Mountain Dew. Always Mountain Dew.
Yeah, we have plenty of pictures of those stored in folders. But we had this one house. The guy, he passed away. His attorney was my attorney, so it just happenstance. I'm like, oh, cool. And she ran his estate, and he was a single dude, total bachelor. Just imagine like this, like Harley Davidson 60s, slick back, silver hair, just dude, right? Like just straight up everything about him was like guns, women, motorcycles, weed, right? But he was also a hoarder, but he was like a good hoarder, like not the gross
He
hoarder.
had cool shit.
He had cool shit. Like, so that due to the estate, like he didn't have any heirs. So like part of his part of his living trust was that all his stuff like goes to a charity that he supported and so forth. So the attorney though, like got to a point where she just got tired of like he had tons of stuff, right? Like going through all of it. So she found as much gold as she could, found as many guns as she could, sold all his cars, Corvettes, Harleys, everything. And then it got to a point where like, okay, whatever's in the house is just what's in the house, right?
Yeah.
So she sold it to me, and sitting in the so I got a couple of things I got from this house but sitting inside the washer dryer room in the house, it was a custom built chopper, right? Motorcycle that was like mint condition, but it didn't start, right? Because it'd been sitting there everywhere, so it was all sumped out and whatnot. So the attorney, she's just, she's a little bit older, and she's just like, I don't want to push this thing out. So she just like left. So it came with the house, right? So I got this like mint condition, $20,000 motorcycle, right? And I held on to it for a few years, just sitting in my garage and whatnot. Never did anything. I'd show it to people every now and then. Look how cool, right? With the had like, all the custom paint job. It was everything. Eventually I got it.
Really long bars, and you're like this.
Yeah, there's no struts or anything like that. Everything was just like, I can't even tell you all the stuff anymore. But anyways, we got it a little bit fixed up, so it was start. But then I ended up selling it eventually. But it took me 4 years before I finally sold it. Like something like that. But that same house, I also got 5 antique rifles that were World War I and World War II mint condition rifles.
Oh wow!
Those I still have. And then a bunch of other random things that were just kind of fun. We made some funny videos while we were there. Just dug through everything, and like it was a good time. But like that, even our washer too, it was brand new washer and dryer. And I'm like, my wife's like, we're taking those. And so those became our wash. Just like that house had a lot of cool stuff, right? And lots of knickknacks, old stuff. It was everything. So, and it was in his bedroom, it was awesome. His bedroom had like this little nook. It was completely like floor to ceiling mirrors in this like nook, and there was like a workout bench there. So you just imagine this dude like just, older Harley guy, slick black hair, just like, yeah, you're the sexiest, whatever, like going through
He's listening to AC/DC while he's throwing around the weights.
Just like doing it, like, because he had pictures of him. I'm like, oh yeah, that's that guy. Like, and talking to the attorney, she's like, 100% that's that guy. Like,
he's got Pamela Anderson his posters on the wall.
Totally. And also lots of porn. Like in the house, lots of porn. But that's the cool one. That's the coolest thing. We got plenty of the gross things, but like that was the coolest one for sure. So
yeah. Oh, that's so funny.
That's a good story.
Okay, Tarl, here's a question for you. You mentioned previously on another few podcasts that you were, I believe, going to go to school for engineering originally.
Yes, correct.
And you did that, and then
no, I didn't do that.
Did not do that. Okay, all right. So yeah. I thought you started and then stopped.
When I was a junior in high school, if I would have graduated junior year of high school, yes, I would have gone into either mechanical or aerospace engineering. Like that's what I wanted to do. But then senior year was such a waste of my life in high school because like I literally had like 4 periods of like metal shop in TAing, and like I had an engineering class that I loved that we built electric cars and stuff.
We call that dirty autos in our school.
Yeah, it's just like I'm like, this is a waste, and so it gave me too much time to think about other stuff. And I'm like, maybe I don't want to do this. I don't know. Maybe we should do business for ourselves or something. And I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that changed everything. So I read that when I was in high school. So when I was 17, and so that kind of changed everything to where I was like, maybe I shouldn't do this, especially when I realized how much math classes you actually have to take in engineering. That was probably the biggest reason. I'm like, math. I want to take math. I'm already tired of math classes. So I didn't end up doing that. I still went to college. Like I was actually going to go straight into the military is actually what I was going to do because I didn't know what else. I was like, okay, well, I'll just go do that and whatnot instead. And then after that, I'll go start a business. And my dad actually stopped me from doing that because he was prior, and he was just like, he knew I wanted at the time I wanted a brand new Z06 Corvette. Like I wanted that so bad at 17, and he used that against me. So basically what he ended up doing was he's like, hey, because I wanted to do pararescue for Air Force. That's what I really wanted to do. And he knew what that was because he was a part of some of that stuff back in the day. And so he basically was like, hey, you want to go to college or start a business one day, right? He's like, I'm like, yeah, totally. He's like, well, you're not going to be able to do that if you go do the special ops stuff with those guys. He's like, you also want a Corvette, right? And I'm like, totally. Like, that's why I'm doing anything. Like, it's to get a Corvette, right? And he's just like, well, if you become an officer in the military instead, pretty much the U.S. government will guarantee that you can make to the car dealer that you'll make your payment. So like you'll be able to get a Corvette from a car dealer if you were an officer instead of enlisted as a PJ or whatever. And I'm like, really? I'm like, how do you do that? He's just like, well, maybe you should go to ROTC in college or whatever instead. I'm like, done. And I like literally walked on the next week to ROTC because I wanted to get a Corvette, and I did that at Sac State. And so I was just like, okay, what degree I need to get to graduate so I can get this Corvette and stuff. So I actually fell in love with ROTC and stuff. And I did that for 3 years in college. And I had a lot of amazing experiences with it. But then, long story short, my junior year in college, 3 years, ROTC the whole time, Star Cadet, amazing, loved it, everything, is when I went down to Los Angeles to see Robert Kiyosaki in 2005 at this, it was the Real Estate Wealth, I think it was Real Estate Wealth Expo is what it was called. And it was a sell-a-thon, right? So I went down there. Long story short, I went down there to see him, but like everybody on stage was selling something, and I ended up buying something and got into real estate. And at the same time, they had too many second lieutenants going into the Air Force, right? Which I stayed with the Air Force because I wanted to do the PJ stuff, and eventually I wanted to switch to OSI. But they basically had too many second lieutenants going in, and they gave everybody an out, basically saying like, if you want to leave, you can leave. And at the time, I was like, real estate seems dope. I want to make a lot of money. Why am I waiting? And by my third year of college, I realized, hey, I only got into this originally because I wanted a Corvette. And now I would have to really rethink, because now I'm not an idiot. I'm not a 17-year-old kid anymore. Like, I'm totally friends with a lot of enlisted and lots of commissioned officer friends. And I knew what it really was by then and what it would actually take for 4 to 6 years, especially what I would want to do. And then I'm like, do I really want this? And that was a really, really tough decision in my life to leave, basically. Very, very tough. I remember the exact moment where I was sitting, everything, when it was just like a switch where I'm like, yeah, I got to go. This is not what I should be doing. But there's a lot of like what ifs that I go back in time, like, because I'm still friend. I mean, I have so many military buddies, and there's that what if. Every one of them said that I made the right decision, but I've always seeked out that brotherhood or that camaraderie against elsewhere. But it's just a FOMO thing, right? So more than anything, but that's the long story version, or there is a much, much longer story version of that, but that's pretty much what happened.
As a car guy, I got to know, did he get the car?
No, because I learned what assets and liabilities were later. So
he's still hoping to find one in a house that he buys.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I am the farthest away from a car guy that you can imagine at this point in my life. Like, I like good trucks. That's it. That's all I like now.
I thought you were going to tell me you had something really fun in the garage. I was like,
I absolutely do not. Like, not at all. I have a 2010 GMC Denali.
Is it moldy?
I've had a moldy car.
I know.
Yeah. Absolutely had a moldy car. Yeah, dude. Like, during that same time period, this was actually a huge catalyst to what got me into everything too. Was this? I had my car stolen at that same. So this whole time period, like junior year, everything, like it's all that perfect storm of all that stuff. And at the same time, like, I got my car stolen. Right, I had a 2000. What year was it? It was a 91 GT Mustang, right, 5.0, and it was like decked. And because of course, like, still college student, and I worked, and so I paid for it and stuff, and got stolen, heartache, right, destroyed. I need to make money, but I also need a car.
My 95 Mustang got stolen around that age too for me. So just so you know,
dude,
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, I could spend the next hour talking about all the heartache back then for that stuff. But anyways, that happens, and the girl I was trying to date, she didn't want to date me. I wanted to date her. She had a broken down Mazda MX-3 93 sitting in her apartment complex that she was about to donate for free to somebody. And it was like, it had a leaky sunroof, and then it didn't start. And so the leaky sunroof for almost a year meant the entire inside of the car was completely covered and caked in mold the whole time, because it's locked up, windows closed, everything. But it didn't start. And I knew enough about cars. I'm like, oh, that's the alternator. And so I got a new battery and alternator, and things started up just fine. And she just gave me the car. I drove that moldy thing to my buddy's house, and then spent the next like week or two bleaching, scrubbing, getting it all done, right? And that became my car, right? But that led to me needing to make extra money, which led to me going to Primerica Financial Services, which was a network marketing for financial service stuff, to go like ask if I can make part-time income as a financial planner, which led to me eventually seeing the Kiyosaki Real Wealth thing, right? Going to there, which led to me dropping a college, like this whole. If my car didn't get stolen, none of that, I wouldn't be here with you guys today, basically.
I was picturing you driving around in this moldy car with an ozone generator plugged into a cigarette lighter.
I should have had an ozone generator. But no, that worst thing that happened to me ended up being the best thing that happened to me looking back, because I would have stayed. Like I wouldn't, that car getting stolen triggered all the events that led to me today. So
Yeah, isn't that wild how that works?
Yeah.
Butterfly effect.
super butterfly.
Well, speaking of things that didn't go very well, we have a section that we call Failing Forward, where we talk about something that happened to you, life, business, or otherwise, that didn't go according to plan. Maybe some lessons learned along the way with the story. Got anything that comes to mind?
Yeah, I got one that I don't think I've ever told on a recorded line. So I was thinking about this. I was like, I'll tell this one. Why not? All right. I think this is like a life lesson situation. So in 2018, somewhere around, I think pretty sure it was 2018. So 2018, early 2019, we started keeping properties, rentals, all that great stuff. And I got to a point where like, I didn't realize actually if I kept rentals, my ability to borrow from lenders was like way easier the more properties I kept. And versus as a house flipper, what's funny is banks don't look at you as a real business when you're a house flipper. Like they don't at all. Like, and I don't want to go on a rant, but basically I had a $30,000 fixated event company next to $1 million plus flipping business for net profit. And my bank would give me a line of credit on the 30 grand business, not the $1 million business. Net profit, by the way, like kind of a thing. Because they're like, oh, that's flipping and it's not a real business. But your events company that's like you fucking around is like a real business. We'll give you a line of that. So it's stupid stuff, right? So, but point being is like I was keeping a bunch of rentals and I was like, dude, my financing is getting better and better. I could start getting lines of credit on things. I could start getting all this stuff. So I had this a whole bunch of stuff lined up. Like I had a whole bunch of burrs kicking up, right? We were pure burr, 2018, pure burr, right? Keeping everything, doing what we can. We still flipped, right? But like we pretty much were keeping everything. Years wrapping up, I had like this huge line of credit that was like a business line, which was the first time I'm getting a business line, which was awesome, right? Like all these things were like dialed in. So like then what ended up happening was my wife and I work together now, right? And so we're in business together because she quit her job in 2017. I had the business before her and I ever met. And then so she came into the business, but the reason why we still work together so well is that we have very strict lanes. I think that's important with a marriage, especially if you work together. Like she's in charge of property management and the rentals, right? Not me. I would be the worst property manager and worst person ever to do any of that. So she's amazing at it and she likes it. So not anymore, I don't think, but she used to like it. So she's jaded just like me now. So, but in 2018, at the end of 2018, give or take, that also meant that she pays all the bills and all that stuff for the rentals too. So in 1 month, because I can't remember why exactly, I think it had to do with like we either changed bank accounts or we refinanced or something happened or whatever. I can't remember exactly what it was, but we missed 3 mortgage payments. And so and you're talking like, that's a big freaking deal when you're a real estate investor. And the way I found out was I was just on the bank accounts and I saw that we had 3 payments that were like double payments. And I'm like, that's not good. Like I immediately know what it is, but I don't want to like admit what it is. And so I call her up and I'm like, hey, blah, blah. She's like, oh, no, it's okay. Like I paid it, right? They're fine. But yeah, she told me why it got missed. And I think it was a banking thing. It just didn't get caught. And she's like, but it's paid now. So it's no big deal. And I'm like, no, this is a big deal. We're now 30-day late on 3 mortgages. And I lost my shit like big time, like right there. And I hung up on her. Because at the same time, I'm in underwriting on the business lines. I'm in underwriting a whole bunch of burrs. I'm in underwriting like all these things, and they're all great. Everything's amazing. All this stuff is like cool, and like that all went away, right? And because of that, and why that was hard for me is I grew up poor. We definitely were not middle class, like all that stuff. Like the best we got was lower middle class, basically at one point, but we were always like the upper lower middle, right? So, and I never, I didn't. Basically, somebody else messed up my finances, not me, right? In that situation, like I did everything right and somebody else took me out. That's how I saw it. And this is right around my birthday too, in October. And dude, and my safe space was her. Like despite all the chaos in business, despite all the chaos in life, everything, my safe space was my wife, right? Mm-hmm. And I can be who I am, and everything. And all of a sudden, that's it. As far as I was concerned at the time, that safe space was gone. I now didn't have a safe space, right? And it just like hit me like a ton, like absolutely did not look at her the same, right? Complete disdain, all that stuff. And I remember waking up like a few days later from bed, realizing this, and just like cold. I'm just cold, right? And everything's cold. And I had a come to Jesus moment with that, where like this is on my birthday that year, so October 18. Mark it down, guys. Send me birthday presents. But for where we're at dinner, and I'm just looking at her, and I go, I'll be honest, I have a choice right now, right? Either I have to completely forgive you for my sanity to be able to realize that, hey, I messed up because I wasn't involved, but also I've messed up on a lot of other things that you don't even know about because you're not involved in the real estate business, other places. And you don't blame me for any of that because you're not even aware of it. If you even knew what I messed up, you'd probably be mad at me for some of the things I've done in my business. So either I have to forgive you or we have to get divorced, because we can't be in the middle. And I don't want to get divorced. That means that I have to forgive you. And I have to also tell you some of the things I messed up in business so that you also forgive me. And I have to put this away. Even though it totally then took me the next like 12 to 24 months to like make up for some of that just for 3 payments. Like I realized that what's more important in my life, right, is my relationship with my wife. And I needed that safe space back. And that was way more important to me than like any of the money whatsoever and the stuff that it created me. And I'm proud that that took me less than 5 days to like get through. And it was just like a switch. Like I was like, I have to make this decision. Like if I hold on to this and resent it, then it is going to lead to divorce. It's like 100% will. And so I don't want that. So therefore I have to solve this by owning up, also admitting some of the stuff I messed up in business that she's not even aware of, and saying like, it's reciprocal. So I can't blame her for that. And so
Jocko would be proud of the extreme ownership.
I was reading Extreme Ownership back then. And also, hey, we didn't ever answer it. The one person that I fanboy on that I actually do know, right, is Jocko. So
I think they can.
I thought you were going to say Kiyosaki. Man,
no, those guys. I would never. No, they would never be hanging out with me if I was that. That's why Jocko doesn't hang out with me. But I've met that guy so many times. Leif Babin is a business partner of mine. Like that's
freaking.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So like I know those guys, right? I know Jocko's business partner at Origin. Like I know Pete, right? Like so I know all those guys. Like, but Jocko, I just think he thinks I'm a weirdo because I'm like, hi Jocko. So I'm never myself around him ever. Like I try, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be cool. So
he is intimidating though. I mean, like just his voice in general too.
But Leif and I are bros. Like so, like, it's him and I own a jiu-jitsu academy together down the road from here. Like Leif and I are good friends. Like so, it's like, but. I don't know. I just, for whatever reason, like, hi, Jocko. Anyways. Yeah, so there you go. There's my fail forward fast. That was a big one. But
okay, so what you probably don't want to tell us, but what was her reaction when you got vulnerable and told her the things that you didn't want to tell about in business?
Yeah, that's just, complete acceptance and love and caring and all that stuff. And, all that brings us closer together and whatnot. So, but it's all, I have the best spouse for me. That's all that matters.
Yeah, great answer.
I had to have one of those vulnerable moments that we had to just got a bad, not a good person, but bad business partnership issue, and I had to get a little vulnerable and tell my wife, what happened and the losses that we incurred due to that. And that was a really hard conversation to have, and it's still been hard.
Yeah, it sucks.
So,
it's kind of one of those things where it's a trade-off because in one aspect, I kind of everybody's different, right? Everybody I like what you said there about my wife is perfect for me. Because everybody's so different with their personalities and the way they handle stress and family stuff and whatever. But I went through years of I was like, man, why can't I get my wife on board with being involved and all that? And eventually I just had to make my peace with and not, be resentful of the situation and just accept it for what it was. But I've also I've screwed so many things up that I haven't bothered her with, where I think she probably would have done a better job than I have. So it's just weird. There you have dynamics in marriage and business that kind of overlap.
Yeah, it goes back to a lot of it's ego. A lot of it's an unwritten scoreboard, right? That's out there. There's all sorts of things that create challenges between husband and wife. So.
Yeah, the unwritten scoreboard. I always call it accounts payable and receivable in marriage, right? It's always there, but you don't always see it on a whiteboard.
Correct.
Well, what do you think, Ted? Should we wrap up this bad boy and put a bow on it?
Unfortunately, I want to go for so much longer, but yes, we need to.
All right. Well, Tarl, this has been fun. We have one last section in our podcast called the OT with Owen and Ted. We got some questions you are not prepped for these. So
Let's go.
Actually, nobody listening is prepped for these questions.
okay. These are ones I came up with this morning, and Ted helped. So what is a hidden talent that you have that adds zero value to the world?
A hidden talent that I have that
while you're thinking, I'm gonna give you 3. Okay, these are mine. One is I have not thrown up since the year 2000. So I have a 25-year vomit-free streak going. Kind of proud of that. Got a cast iron stomach. One other one is if I open a cupboard and a cup or something falls out of it, I am crazy good at catching whatever is falling. Like I almost never miss.
Yep.
And then my last one is what is my last one? I can usually nail a celebrity voice in a commercial where you don't see the person talking. Like I'm uncanny at it. My kids think they think I cheat. But those are 3 of mine. You got anything like that, or people don't know it, but you're really good at something weird?
I used to, I don't know. I got one is like, I don't know if you guys can see my thumb, but like, I have no, that's because I have no ligaments in that thumb because it took me 10 years to realize I didn't have a ligament in that thumb because I had a motorcycle accident and I just thought my thumb was always like that. Apparently it's not supposed to be like that, but anyways, but that's not the hidden talent. I don't think, the only thing, I don't know if this is a talent, but like I used to be a major video gamer. I was like a closet gamer. Nobody really knew it, but like I would just play. And I have to get everything in a video game. So like if I'm one of those people that I don't know why this popped in my head, but that's why I don't play video games anymore, like completely at all. But if you ever play games that have like all those hidden little secret things, like I got to find all of it. So,
Legend of Zelda,
the original Zelda.
Yeah, I'll click on everything. I got to like, nope, we got to go complete this. So
you got to burn every bush.
Yeah, all of it.
Drop a bomb on every piece of rock.
That's right.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's a talent, but that makes me detailed for sure.
Okay, all right, I like it.
Yeah. But the thumb thing, I guess, I don't know.
I
think all my talent. The problem is with this question is I think all my talents benefit the world. So I think that's probably one of the reasons I'm having such a hard time with this one. So
that's all right. We'll give you a whole pass on it.
I'm about to say mine was being the limbo king of Kearney, Nebraska in college.
Oh, yeah, Ted limboed at BP Con. You were the low. You went down the lowest out of anybody.
It was us. The She podcast. What's her name? From Brazil. From Brazil.
Andressa?
No, her partner.
Yeah.
We were limboing, and then
Liz?
Liz.
No, Andressa. It was
Andressa.
Andressa, and then we got a picture, and it was like on the cover of the BP for that year.
Yeah, the only thing preventing you from being world class at that is your belly. I don't think you just can't get any lower than that. So until you diet, I think you're going to be stuck.
There we go, buddy. What is one of your all-time favorite quotes?
Oh, that's easy. It's my life has been full of misfortune, most of which has never happened.
Man's Search for Meaning?
No, it's Mark Twain is credited for it on the surface, but it's not. It's actually this French philosopher dude that actually originally said it. But like, my life has been full of terrible misfortune, most of which have never happened because like everything's in your head. So
yeah, so worrying, basically, like thinking about the worst.
Or you just like, this happened to me, this happened, or this could happen to me, whatever. Like, but it paralyzes people. So it's like almost everything's in your head. So
yeah,
reality, even how you interpret things, like we put a biased spin on everything we see. When you're like, that guy cut me off because he hates me. It's like, that guy didn't see you. Like, he's not even thinking about you, like that kind of aspect. So
okay, I like it.
Yeah.
All right. Mark Zuckerberg is also a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
If you were going to fight him, what approach would you take, and what kind of smack would you talk to him?
Well, I don't think any smack would work, but
threads sucks. Like, get better, man. Like, what even is threads? It's the worst thing ever.
Yeah, I've never even seen it. I have no idea.
It's pretty bad.
But I always go for the back. So that's in jiu-jitsu, you take the back.
Rear naked choke.
Absolutely, if I can. So it just depends on if it's no gi or whatever. But no, I was doing jiu-jitsu. I do jiu-jitsu 6 a.m. I was there this morning and getting my ass kicked. Everybody in jiu-jitsu gets their ass kicked. So
Are you still a blue belt?
Yeah, of course I am. Everybody. Okay. I don't want to talk about it. So we're coming out.
All right. I'm sorry. I'm picking away at the secret society here.
I know, right? No. It's the we all got our reasons. So
okay. All right. Fair enough. All right. Rear naked choke. Mark Zuckerberg.
We
I still want to see him and Elon go at it, man. I thought that was going to actually happen, like the fight.
Hilarious.
Very good at ankle locks. I'm good at that. I could do that all day. But
okay.
We all know you're an adrenaline junkie. So what are the
Yes.
few things left on your bucket list?
Antarctica, scuba diving. So that's been on the top of my list for a while. So going scuba diving in Antarctica, like there's plenty of liveaboards that do that. It's a long trip just to get down there. So I have to be like set aside a month pretty much to do what I want to do. And since having my kid, it made me go like, well, maybe I shouldn't do that right now. Like all this kind of stuff. But absolutely, like scuba diving in Antarctica is like top of the list for sure.
Yeah, I remember listening to something that you were talking about, and you're like, I was so super excited, but then when I really got thinking about it, I could die out there, and I haven't, at the time of you, I think you had a newborn at home.
No, that was heliskiing.
Heliskiing?
Oh. Yeah. So Rich Fecky and I went heliskiing for his 60th last year in February. So that was on the Brandon Turner podcast. We talked about that. So, and like, dude, I've been like before my kid, like, so that was actually like a weird moment for me. Like I was like leaving for 2 weeks to go hang out with one of my best friends in the world, Rich Fecky, for his birthday. And him and I had like a whole thing in California we're doing. Then we went to like a part of Canada. Then we went to Revelstoke and we did the heliskiing for four straight days. I'm like, this is gonna be an epic trip. Yeah, for some reason I was like super like messed up in the head, and I didn't know why. Like I'm like, why do I feel so nervous? Why does everything feel like weird? Why is everything like, what's wrong with me? Like, and even on the helicopter, I'm like, we're gonna die. Like, and I've been on helicopters before. I've done all sorts of like, I've skydived probably 17, 18 times. Like I've done a bunch of stuff, right? And I've bungee jumped a bunch. I snowboard, like I've done snowboarding since I was almost 30 years. Like, so it's the rock climbing. I've done all sorts of outdoor. I've done a lot of crap, right? Scuba diving is my favorite thing in the world. I've been all over the place with that. Yet for some reason I was freaking out, and I realized that it was actually the second day of heliskiing. I was like, it's my son's fault. So because this is the first trip I was taking away from my family internationally, right? To get on a helicopter, to go back country in like steep and deep powder where there's avalanche warnings, all this stuff. And I'm like, and this is the first time I'm doing a trip like that since I had my kid. And I'm like, oh, it's his fault because I don't want him to lose me, and I don't want to lose seeing him grow up. And now I'm willingly going back country, like on a helicopter, to go jump out of the helicopter to go to snowboard like freshies, which sounds awesome, but I'm also putting my life at risk. And that's what was messing me up. So it was the first trip I took since having him that was like that, right? The scuba diving, though, believe it or not, I don't feel that way at all. I'd be like, cool, let's go. So, but anyways,
man, I already know that's what my daughter's gonna be. Like, she's
like adrenaline junkie.
Oh yeah, she's the one that's like at 6 years old was trying to get on the big roller coaster that with her feet dangling. I'm like, sorry, you're too big. And then she's like, Dad, we're gonna go on this water slide that drops you out straight down. And she, again, 6 years old. And I'm like, I really don't want to do that.
See, but I was not like that at all at 6 years old.
Really?
Like I was like, I didn't upside roller coasters. No, I remember crying as a kid, going over like everything. I was terrified of that stuff.
She's getting on her tippy toes so she can cross the line so she can do it with the big kids. And I'm like, oh man, if she's doing it now, I mean, she's gonna be 10 times worse than you. Like,
yeah,
I'm screwed.
Yeah.
Okay, another question for you. What's exciting or interesting in your life or business right now?
Everything. I don't know. Like for right now, like I'm at an immediate moment in my life right now is that Limitless Expo comes up in 60 days. And that's always a huge pressure because always back to selling tickets. So it's also exciting at the same time. So even though it's very stressful at this time of year for events, because you sell most of your tickets within the 30 to 60 day window. So that's like right now, it starts next week. But it's also exciting because like, I get to meet a lot of really cool people, and I'm partners with Ken McElroy in that. So him and I talk like every day. So like it's a whole bunch of stuff with that. That's really fun and exciting in business right now. And then just life, like there's always something cool going on, right? For what I like, it's life by design, right? Anyways, I could talk about this. I literally will spend the next hour talking about all the cool shit. But honestly, Limitless is my favorite thing for my business that we even do. It's just also the most stressful at the same time right now.
Yeah.
So,
well, we're Ted and I are both going to the REI Summit.
That's next week.
Yeah, we're gonna hang out. We'll come say hi, and we'll.
I think we've interviewed almost everybody that's speaking or presenting.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to make it to Limitless too if I can make it work out with the family travel and all that stuff. So,
yeah.
also, just a reminder, listeners, RIA Radio, REIA Radio, is your promo code for 15% off of the Limitless Expo coming up July 31st through August 2nd in
All one word. Dallas,
all
Texas.
one word. Yeah, Dallas, Texas. So
RIA Radio, one word, 15% off. Buy your tickets. It's better than anything out there. Go to go.limitlessexpo.com for full details.
yes, I love it. Okay, this is kind of a fun one, I think. What celebrity, politician, or business leader would you most like to punch in the face?
Oh, punch in the face?
Yeah.
Well, truth is, I don't really ever think like that. So that's probably why I'm always very conscious of echo chamber stuff. So, and I always have to pay attention to like, okay, my social media and the people I listen to all talk crap about the former prime minister of Canada or whatever they called him.
Oh, yeah.
Trudeau, right?
Yeah.
And so like, and if I just listen to that echo chamber, then I'd be like, yeah, screw that guy, right? But then it's probably all true. I don't know. Everybody I listen to seems to hate the guy. So, so there's one, I guess, right? But in reality, I'm also like, yeah, but I also don't know. Because like,
because you never know what you believe, because it's just like whatever on your feeds that week.
I was pretty pissed how they handled the trucker thing. Like that really upset me big time. Just because those, just how they completely did what they did to those guys post.
Well, and then is it true? Anybody that donated to the organization, they
in Canada,
they cut out. Yeah, they shut off their bank accounts and took their money.
What?
Debanked them. Yeah, they debanked them.
Debanked them. Yeah,
did not.
Yeah, there's a whole thing there, but like that's where if I get my line is like, hey, you do you, I'll do me. Like, let's just live in peace, right? Kind of situation. Just don't step on me. And so that's the whole aspect there. And so I get pretty lit up when people are encroaching on my freedoms and people I care about. But if that's not happening to me, then why am I getting upset? So I get upset at that when I see other people like get that as well. But it's also like, I'm fortunate enough to live here. So we're so far, like we have a lot of freedom. That's why COVID pissed me off so much, because I had an events company that shut everything down. Actually, Governor Inslee, there you go. Governor Inslee, state of Washington, F that guy. So it's
there we go.
I was absolutely heated at that time in Washington. We had in 2021, because there's still all the mandates in Washington up until freaking like 2022, basically, for Washington. It was crazy. And in May or June of 2021, they released the restrictions in Seattle and Washington, and everybody came out like the sun shining, everything like that. And we had an events company. And so my team was just like, hey, let's do an event as like a relaunch. And I'm like, sweet, sounds good. Because like people were encroaching in our territory. So we did a relaunch in August 2021. It was supposed to be a relaunch of our meetups and everything else. And we had 450 people show up, and it was so fun. Like it was just a 1.5 day thing, like a party on a Friday night and an all day kind of conference on Saturday. And everybody that like friends and past members, like everything it was just awesome. Just a local thing. It was fantastic. And that Friday, Governor Inslee comes out and says, hey, you've all been bad boys and girls. Now we're going to go back to all restrictions Monday. And I showed up on stage. I'm like, this was actually, you want to know why I never came back to Washington? It was that. And so I was living in Maui at the time. And like, I got on stage on that Saturday and I said, hey, this was supposed to be a relaunch. This is now a going away party. I will never, ever do an event again in the state of Washington for the rest of my life.
Wow.
And so I'm like, I'm out. And still to this day, my team's like, we should go back to Seattle. I'm like, nope, not doing it. So I was just, by then, you talk about owning an events company. It was destructive what happened during that time period. And I'm never, ever going to forgive that. So yeah, anyways, anybody that was like all for that. Yeah. I'm pretty not all for that.
I'm really glad you brought that up, because I actually wrote in my notes to ask you why you quit and you wouldn't go back to that area. So you just,
you talk about over 18 months trying to survive as an events business and make things happen. When that happened, we had couple $100,000 in contracts out for event stuff, plus 400, 500 tickets already sold, like all sorts of stuff. We had to maneuver. It was just not a good time. I've never been a fan of encroaching on people's freedoms ever. And it was one of those situations where I was just like, I don't want to get around on this at all. But basically I was pretty lit up. And that was the final straw that broke the camel's back for me in that market. And I was like, I'm not doing this ever again in Seattle. So I left.
This week, Joe Rogan had a great podcast with Aaron Rodgers, and it got really deep into the COVID, the cancellation, but also debanking.
Mm-hmm.
If you're listening to that and that interests you, I definitely recommend listening to that podcast. They get pretty deep into it.
Yeah.
Totally.
All right.
Man,
what do you think?
Well, again, thanks to Kyle for hooking us up. And funny thing is that we haven't said this too many times, but first thing Kyle says is he goes, the person that Tarl puts out there is the person who he really is, and it just has to be that your best friend Brandon is. We felt the same way. Like the person that we listened to and watched over the years, we finally get to meet him, and here we are. He's putting us in jujitsu headlocks, and we're meeting the kids, and and meeting the family, and he was truly the person he really was. So it just says something to your guys' friendship and why you guys connect so well. So thank you for being you and just original and and unique, and not trying to fall into this system of trying to get clicks and be this person online that everybody wants you to be.
I don't know. It'd be easier to sell tickets if I was like somebody that cared about like all that stuff. But Brandon sucks at jiu-jitsu though, so like I just want you to know that. So
yeah, he still put me in a couple headlocks, so
yeah,
that I could get out of. But with that, Owen Dasher, we see us out.
On behalf of Rio Radio, Aiden Bear, and Ted Kosh, I'm Owen Dashner. You've been listening to Tarl, Forced Appreciation of Your Life and Wife, Yarber. Signing off.
Look at that. Thanks, guys. You guys are so pro. I never go on podcasts with so much professionalism.
God, just give it a minute. And we're not drinking today either, so I think the professionalism goes
saying
up.
all this prep and everything.
Yeah. We even got a producer in office here.
Yeah.
Aiden over there off camera. There's his hand.